Welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 36. I do believe this is. We got a big show for you today. Me and Cam missed last week. If you listened, it was me and Jake, but me and Cam are back this week to recap week 8 of the NFL season. And then, I don't know, are we going to do our picks in this episode? I guess we'll find out. We'll see how it goes. And talk some World Series as well and the NFL trade deadline. So shout out to Clint for being back in. You can see him behind Cam's right shoulder, I think that is. So if you're an early listener of the show, he was, a huge part of the YouTube, and he's back. So shout out to him, and let's get into the rundown of week 8. So I will start us off in Florida, Tampa, Florida, where the Ravens danced on Tom Brady and his divorce by trolling the Buccaneers into thinking they could win this game after the first half. Then Lamar and the Greg Roman offense took the kids from Tom Brady, scoring 24 second-half points to cruise to a 27-22 win in Amazon prime time.
Next, we head overseas, where the final British game would be played this year between the Denver Broncos and the London Jaguars. Russell Wilson and the Broncos had a knee up on the Jaguars and the plane before the game even started, and it showed as they came out scoring early and were able to hold on to win 21-17 in Wilson's return from his injury.
Up to Northern Country, where the Dolphins take on the Lions. The Lions came at the kneecaps early, getting out to a quick 14-0 lead before we could even blink. But lucky for the Dolphins, Tyreek and Jalen don't need theirs to run all over the Lions defense, combining for nearly 300 yards. The Lions ran out of steam in the second half, getting shut out and letting the Dolphins come back and take the game 31-27.
Next, we head to Jerry World, where the offense was on full display for really the first time this year, as the Cowboys put up 49 points with the help of the best running back in the league, Tony Pollard. The Bears finally looked competent again on offense, but it wasn't enough to keep up, and the Cowboys roll to a 49-29 win to move to 6-2.
Now we head to Philly, where the Battle of Pennsylvania happened. The Steelers' secondary couldn't guard A.J. Brown, so he went for 3 touchdowns in the first half. Kenny Pickett threw another, as this game was never even close, and the Eagles remain undefeated with a blowout of the Steelers, 35-13.
Down to the Dome in NOLA, where the Andy Dalton-led Saints took on the Raiders. Derek Carr gave Raiders fans flashbacks of Jamarcus Russell as he was benched for Jared Stidham in this one, and Alvin Kamara danced all over the Raiders defense, going for 3 total touchdowns and 15. What does that say, Luke?
150.
150 yards just to carry the Saints to a 24-0 shutout win over Vegas. Sorry about that one.
No, you're good. That was my fault. Now we head to, you ready? Skull. Where the Vikings take on Kyler and the Cardinals. The Vikings look to go up another game in the division and were helped out to do that by Kirk and Jettis. Kyler was focused on the wrong game at the end as he threw an interception to seal it for Minnesota, and Patrick Peterson gets his revenge in the return of DeAndre Hopkins. And what a return that was. So he put up over 170 yards. Vikings win 34-26.
Next, we head to the Meadowlands, where the Jets look to beat the Patriots for the first time in a very long time. Unfortunately, after looking good at the beginning, Zach Wilson channeled his inner Sam Darnold, throwing some bad interceptions and potentially seeing ghosts out there. Mac Jones does just enough to hold on to beat the Jets 22-17.
Now we head to Atlanta, where the Falcons and Panthers had a showdown for first place in the NFC South. How about that? This game was awesome from the start as Deontay Foreman ran all over the Falcons the Falcons defense going for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. In need of a touchdown late, Marcus Mariota finds his receiver to put the Falcons up by 6. And with little time left in regulation, Philip Walker airs it out and connects with Denniston Moore Jr. for a Hail Mary-like touchdown to tie the game. After a mixed extra point, we head to overtime where Eddie Pinheiro once again misses the game-winning kick. And that was all Mr. Koo needed as he hits the game-winning kick and sends the Falcons to first place with a 37-34 OT win.
Now we head down to H-Town where the World Series was being played. Also, the Texans played the Titans. Malik Willis had the easiest debut ever as he only attempted 10 passes. But that's all he needed as Derrick Henry ran 32 times for 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. Titans win their 5th straight, moving to 5-2, I want to say, 17-10.
Yeah. Next, we head to the Pacific Northwest, where the Seahawks took on the Giants in the only matchup that featured 2 winning teams this week. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year? Geno Smith continues his MVP season with a late fourth quarter attack where the Seahawks pulled away and hand the Giants just their 2nd loss of the year with a 27-13 victory.
Next, we head to Indy, where the Washington R-Words took on the Colts in the debut of Sam Texas-is-back Ellinger. The Colts took the lead late in the 4th, but couldn't contain the Hind as the big week for Taylors continue, and the Commanders win their 3rd straight, 17-16.
Now we head west where the discombobulated Rams take on the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's new toy, Christian McCaffrey, had himself a game, getting the hat trick, the cycle, the triple crown, the triple double, whatever you want to call it. He threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and caught a touchdown receiving. 49ers and Kyle Shanahan continue to own the Rams and Sean McVay during the regular season and cruise to a 34-14 win.
Next, we head up to the territory of Bills Mafia for Sunday Night Football. Instead of wearing blue and red, Bills fans dressed up in all black for a special occasion, a Week 8 Packers funeral. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs got the graves dug early, connecting multiple times to put the Bills up early. The defensive line gave Rodgers a nightmare on Elm Street, constantly pressuring him and making things tough. And the Bills' offense never really slowed down. But due to a late touchdown drive by the Packers, they were able to cover the 10.5-point spread, and Bills moved to 6-1 with a 27-17 win. But the Packers covered. Good teams win, great teams cover.
Very, very true. And finally, we head up to Ohio, where the Browns took on the Bengals in a spooky Halloween matchup. In this festive matchup, the black and orange was on full display, as well as Myles Garrett, as he spooked Joe Burrow all night. Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb ran over the Bengals defense so much that Jacoby Brissett started trolling at the end of the game, trying to get the Bengals to jump off sides. Browns keep their season alive on this Halloween night with a 32-13 win. And that is what happened in Week 8.
Yeah.
Wow, what a rundown. I felt like that.
One thing to point out that was interesting, and you pointed it out already in the rundown, was there were some good games this week, but you're right. The only game that contained 2 teams with winning records, Giants and the Seahawks. And another thing you pointed out, who would have expected that at the beginning of the season? And this just shows how much that, I love football to death. And, I claim that I know stuff about football, but I literally had both the Seahawks and the Giants in my top 5 picks coming into the next NFL draft. Like, I thought they were both going to be that bad. So, but that's why, Geno didn't write back. So,
that's why you play the games.
That's why you play the games, for sure.
So you want to talk about that game a little bit? I didn't watch much of it. I just caught it on Red Zone, like whatever plays were shown. But it was a really close game in the first half. Like, it seemed like it was back and forth, and then just in the fourth quarter, the Seahawks just broke away.
Yeah, the Seahawks kind of just got like a stranglehold on the lead. And sometimes, the Giants, like they have to have everything kind of go their way in terms of the way the football bounces and in terms of breaks, because they're just not that talented on offense, besides Saquon. And that's kind of what happened today is they had some really bad muffs on special teams, and that gave the ball back to the Seahawks a couple of times. And, like I just said, if they don't play pretty much perfect football, and by perfect football, I just mean no bad turnovers. Like, you can't have the interceptions from Daniel Jones, which he hasn't really been throwing this year, which is, kudos to him, but they really can't have special teams turnovers. So, and they had those, and the Seahawks were able to capitalize on them and put a stranglehold on the lead late, like Luke kind of mentioned. And this game could have been a little bit of a bigger blowout if you watched it at all. And actually, I'm sure some people saw the highlights on Twitter of Tyler Lockett dropped 2 touchdowns before he actually caught one. Like, he was running perfect routes, and Geno Smith was throwing some beautiful footballs, and Lockett dropped 2 touchdowns before he ever caught his first one. So this game could have actually been a little bit more lopsided. So, but that's just, the Giants play this kind of brand of football of it's kind of gross, but at the very end, they like to make plays when it matters. And they really didn't have that opportunity because, they were down by 2 scores, and Giants down 2 scores isn't really as effective.
Yeah, home run by Jeremy Pena of the Astros too to give the Astros a 2-1 lead in Game 5. But yeah, I mean, the story of this game is just the Seahawks, man. This is coming into this year. We're looking at their roster, we're looking at their quarterback, which we all anticipated to be Drew Lock, and we're like, this team sucks. I think everyone's talking about it, so I'm not going to go into great detail. And then what I am going to talk about is Geno Smith. And not like the resurgence of Geno Smith. Where did this come from? Blah, blah, blah. Everyone's talking about that. He's my inspiration right now. Like, anytime I think about giving up on something, I look at Geno Smith and I'm like, I can't give up because this guy's been in the league for 8 years, 9 years maybe. He's been on 4 different teams. And with the exception of like 1 or 2 years on the Jets, he's been a career backup. And he finally gets his chance here, takes advantage of it. And now I'd say he's top 5 in MVP voting right now. Confidently, I would say that.
Yeah, he's definitely a dark horse at this point, and deservedly so. Like I just mentioned too, he should have had more touchdown passes. Lockett was just dropping them for some reason, so which was also really rough for me. Another reason why I just took big note of Lockett dropping those touchdowns is because I started him in fantasy this week, but there were some bad drops that he usually doesn't have, and Geno, he has just shocked everybody. And this, like Luke said, he didn't really give up, and he's an inspiration. But it also shows that NFL sometimes it just takes time. This is a rare case, like 8 or 9 years. That's too much time, obviously. But another case is kind of by looking at Daniel Jones. He's really improved from last year to this year, and sometimes it just takes time. So, and Geno Smith has backed up some pretty decent quarterbacks too, and you just gain knowledge. And I think this is one of Pete Carroll's best coaching jobs too.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you really look at Pete Carroll, like over the years and some of the decisions he's made, this guy is a damn good coach. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's already a legend. I don't know if you remember, like before the Seahawks even won the Super Bowl, they had what's his face at quarterback? I can't remember, but he's like
Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn, that's right. They signed Matt Flynn to a huge deal for some weird reason, even though he played one game.
I think it's because of how good he played for the Packers.
Yeah,
he played really good on the Packers.
Yeah,
but he threw for like 300 or 400 yards, I think.
6 touchdowns too. So he got a lot of money from that. But so they just signed this guy, But then they draft this guy out of Wisconsin, and Pete Carroll's like, yeah, this rookie is going to start. And sure enough, they went on to win a Super Bowl and go the next year to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I don't think the Seahawks are good enough to win a Super Bowl this year, but hey, you never know in the NFL. And the Seahawks look really well coached on defense. Their defense is showing out. They have the rookie, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now, but he has been amazing this year.
Woolen? Tariq Woolen?
What was it?
Tariq Woolen,
yes, Tariq Woolen.
And then also Kobe Bryant
stud.
hasn't been bad either. Spelt or not spelt the same. Sounds the same, not spelt the same. Two really good corners out of Cincinnati, Sauce and Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sauce has been amazing too this year. But I mean, this Seahawks team, they look deep, and I mean the Rams are kind of falling apart right now. The Cardinals look like they're kind of falling apart. So you could see like a good old 5 years ago when it was the 49ers and Seahawks battling for the West. You're probably going to get that again this year. 49ers are definitely a more talented team, but the Seahawks are riding the wave. And, we saw it with the Phillies this year in baseball. That's all it takes. You just got to ride the wave and keep going. But this was kind of like an evaluation game because two teams we really thought were going to be bad going into the year that are good. And then the Seahawks take this one. So the Giants, you're still kind of like, okay, we don't know about the Giants. But the Seahawks, you're like, yeah, the Seahawks team is good. They beat the teams we thought would be good, and they beat the teams that are good. So it's kind of like a 50-50. And they're 5-3 and first in the West. So
yeah, I think I'm rooting for them to win the West. I don't mind it if the 49ers win it, but that's crazy that coming into this season, we're like, man, they might get 2 or 3 teams into the playoffs out of that division. And it's probably only going to be one now because of how good the NFC Beast is looking. And if you also...
Well,
you
it
just
could be 2.
Yeah. And another thing you have to think about is if they get 2 teams in, the NFC Beast is probably going to get 2 teams in, whether that's the Giants or the Cowboys along with the Eagles. And then you also have to think about is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. You have to think that maybe one of them might sneak in just because, they're that good and they figure things out. So you always have to keep that in your mind too. Like 4 teams in from the division and then maybe 2 or 3 from the Beast. And then you only have like an extra slot left open after that. So NFC playoff race is going to be tight.
You mentioned with Tom Brady about him sneaking in, and I could totally see it. But if he does, they're going to win the division because the NFC South is not.
You've got a good point. Yeah, you're right about that.
So, yeah. So if he does sneak in, he's going to get the 4 seed or even 3 seed maybe if they sneak that far. But I mean, right now the NFC will maybe do it at the end with the simulator. But the Eagles are pretty much clinched already. The Vikings are pretty much clinched. And then you got the Dallas and Giants that. They're both rolling. They're both 6-2, and I think the Cowboys are 5-2. Actually,
I think they're 6-2. Yeah, I remember the other night.
They have a bye week this week.
Yeah, they do. The other night on one of my chats, I just said, "Mike McCarthy is 6-2. Good night." That's just something to realize. Mike McCarthy is 6-2, and another thing, the Commanders are 4-4. They're playing 500 football, so this year it's going to be tough to make the playoffs playing 500 or just above 500. But I mean, that just shows that that's probably the best division in football right now.
And who would have thought that too? They have been the worst division for years and years now. So it's kind of interesting.
Exactly.
But, so we can talk
Davis Mills
about
touchdown strike.
No, how about that? Or the Texans in the lead?
No, they pending extra point to tie it.
Okay.
Nice throw by
big night for
Davis
Houston,
Mills Mafia. Yeah, for sure. Very big night for Houston.
Yeah, we get the Philly-Houston battle going on. Obviously, the Phillies and Astros in the World Series, but then you got the Texans and Eagles on Thursday Night Football. So it's kind of an interesting thing that definitely was not coordinated beforehand, before the season started at all. It's definitely just a coincidence, you would think anyway. And so, yeah, the Colts and Commanders, it was Sam Ellinger's debut. He didn't play bad, but he didn't exactly go out and dominate either. Taylor Heineke is the best quarterback on the Commanders. I don't know why they started Carson Wentz over him. Carson Wentz was sad and bad. Taylor Heineke he's all right. He's got a high ceiling, low floor, but he's exciting. And that's kind of what the high ceiling, low floor guys bring you. And, with the news that Dan Snyder's looking to sell the team now, he hired someone to take in offers, and Jeff
that's
Bezos.
Huge.
Jeff Bezos said something about buying the team. Maybe that would just completely change the culture around there. Nick Adams talked about buying the team too and changing the name back to the R words. So that would be fun as well too.
Yeah,
but that's an interesting thing to monitor. He doesn't have enough money to do it. There's
no, he doesn't even have close. He said he wanted to put a group together to buy it. But yeah, this is I was going to mention this after all the games, but we can just talk about it right here for a quick second. I mean, this is huge. I mean, Dan Snyder, he is widely hated by not only his own fan base, but around the league, because the fan base of the football team / Commanders has shown the rest of the NFL world how much of a piece of trash that this guy is. And sure enough, most owners are, but this guy is like a special breed of bad people. So they really want him gone. One thing to note is that they hired Bank of America or BOFA, as that was circulating around the internet. BOFA. They're asking BOFA with help to sell the team, but they're also not ruling out selling stakes, like minority stakes of the team. So to where there's multiple owners, which isn't as good of a thing, obviously, because that means that Dan Snyder and Tanya could still be on board. So we want a full sell. That's what I want for the betterment of the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. For the betterment
and I kind of do hope Jeff buys the team.
That would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Except that would.
I kind of hope
Jeff
conflict. Bezos buys the team. What's the conflict?
Amazon owns Thursday Night Football, and so they're kind of associated already. His business, obviously, this would be a personal investment. It wouldn't be anything to do with Amazon, but something to do with Bezos. So maybe, I don't know, probably not a conflict, but something to monitor, I guess.
I can't imagine that it would, because I'm sure you could find similar conflicts. I mean, think about the 31 owners and how rich they are and their connections to businesses. So I'm sure there's some other conflicts around the league that are quite similar. Maybe not on the scale of having a full broadcast, but I think it would be fine if he bought the team. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that would be okay. But yeah, that's just something to monitor. And yes, Sam Ellinger didn't throw a pick, but didn't throw a touchdown either. And they just didn't score a whole lot of points. That's what I was going to say when you were talking about Taylor Heineke. Yeah, they did fire their offensive coordinator. What I was just going to say is Taylor Heineke, I mean, you said he's better than Carson Wentz, and right now I'd say, yeah, he's playing better than Carson Wentz, but it's not like Taylor Heineke puts up a ton of points either. He just kind of keeps them in the game, so to speak, where Carson Wentz, he doesn't really give him a chance to win. Taylor Heineke does give you a chance to win, but it's also like at the same time, your defense has to pretty much hold them under 20. So
yeah, that's true.
It's not the greatest style of football, but it's working right now. They're 4-4, and you can't complain about wins in the NFL. Yeah, you just have to keep winning. So,
and
I hope
another
Carson
game
Wentz
that
doesn't come back.
I mean, no offense to him, he seems like a good guy, but he sucks at football. I mean, he's in the NFL, so he doesn't suck that much, but I mean, for an NFL player, he's not that good.
But also offense to him. We'll just leave it at that. Also offense to him.
Okay. fair. Bucks Ravens, Thursday Night Football, prime time. Tom Brady gets a divorce literally the morning after this game, which
Yeah.
is not relevant to this show at all, so we're not going to talk about it. But just briefly, just mention it.
But there was
it is.
another rumor circulated out there on the Wednesday evening before the game that Giselle gave him an ultimatum that he either retire or she's leaving him. And many people think that it applied to that game, but I don't think that applied to that game. I think that applied to this season. So I think they've probably
think it was real. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. Because they've been right about a lot of things when you think about it. Yeah. They knew that they were hiring divorce lawyers. They knew that, they were heading for divorce. They knew that homes were being listed, and so, but they got a prenup, so they should be fine.
Yeah. I don't know how long this is going to affect Tom Brady, because you can tell that his personal life is clearly affecting his game on the field. He's just been, like, you look at him, he's angrier than ever. Like, he's always screaming at somebody or himself, like when something doesn't go right. And you can just tell he's really mad and really frustrated. And some of that has to do with, how they're playing on the field. But I think a lot of it has to do with, what's happening off the field. And, this guy has been a robot in the NFL for so long. And he's human, just like all of us. As much as we don't want to think he is because of how good he is at the game of football, but he's human, and this is clearly affecting him. It's getting in his head, and there's nothing wrong with it either. That's just natural human instincts, but you just have to wonder how long this is going to carry on, because they're only a game out of the division, so they still have a chance to turn their season around, unlike the Packers. But it's something's got to click with that team, and I just don't think that there is anything clicking. And it's going to be tough to pick them this week against the Rams, because that's wow. What a game that is. But man, I don't know. I can't trust that team right now. And Tom Brady, maybe officially getting the divorce might make it better, because it's like, okay, it's in my past now. There's still some other stuff going on, but there's nothing I can do to change it at this point. I'm just going to go out and ball. And that could be what happens. And then he just, he goes nuclear next week. Who knows? But it's clearly affecting him up to this point, and I just don't know what to make of it. But in this game, especially, Lamar is he's just amazing. And Mark Andrews is a system tight end too. Just want to point that out.
I'll say this, that tight end room is beautiful. Like, it is just so gorgeous. Mark Andrews, I know you just called him a system tight end, but I think you're just saying that off of he came out in the second quarter and they still threw touchdowns to the tight end. They still ran the ball well. But my opposition to your system tight end thing is, in the other games that he's gotten hurt, they have not been able to run the ball. And at first, they were not able to run the ball when he went out of the game. It was during the second half that they picked it up. But I really like Isaiah Likely, and I think that's mostly just because over the past couple of years, I watched him a lot when he played at Coastal Carolina, because he played on the team that was undefeated for a really long time. So, I was watching their games a bunch just to watch the last undefeated team pretty much. He's really good. The other one, Oliver, is also pretty good. And then, of course, Mark Andrews is probably Lamar's favorite target outside of maybe Duvernay. So,
no, it probably is his top target.
Yeah, it wasn't like a flashy Thursday night football, but none of them really have been, as Jake Elliott misses a 54-yard field goal. Long field goal, not really his fault, but the offenses weren't really clicking, mostly with the Buccaneers. They didn't really get anything until the very end. And the score was 27-22, the final, and it came down to an onside kick. So it was still a good game, but, the Ravens kind of cleaned house in that second half.
For sure. All right, and briefly, I guess we can move on to another primetime game. Just briefly here, happened on Halloween, Halloween colors even for both the teams, and at one point with the Bengals B and the 2 zeros on the scoreboard, it spelled
Ooh.
out boo. So just a little bit of a Halloween twist there. And Myles Garrett, the guy who loves Halloween himself, had a big game. Even scared Joe Burrow away one time on a like he was trying to block him, and Joe Burrow just turned around and ran the other direction, which was funny, but completely makes sense.
Justified.
And yeah, I mean the Browns kind of saved their season with this. I think a lot of people, including me, expected the Bengals just to walk right in and stomp on the Browns and like kind of put them to
Yep.
death. But they came back out. They had a great rushing attack. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Mari Cooper had a big game. Brissett played good, and then the defense just went to town, which is something we haven't really seen this year. That Browns defense being good. I remember I called them bad a few weeks ago. I still think they just had a lucky game, a good game, but that's big for the Browns because we still have 1, 2, 3 more games until 4 more weeks, 3 more games until Deshaun
Until
Watson
the
comes
Predator
back.
comes out of
Yeah,
hiding.
until the creep. But at the same time, he hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, it's
He
going to
hasn't
be.
played in 2 years. So how good is
If
he
you
going to be?
remember, Luke, if you
I don't
remember,
know.
we talked about it when it happened. That preseason game, he played like the first couple series, and he was like 1 of 5, 7 yards with an interception or something like that. So I
Yeah.
know that was a really small sample size. And another thing is he gets to practice, against a live first team defenses and stuff like that. So we might not get lucky here, and he'll probably be fine. But that sample size where he looked terrible, we always have that to hold on to as hope that he might suck when they get back. Could you imagine if all the money they paid him and he sucks so bad they have to turn it back over to Brissett? I mean, that would be
I wouldn't be surprised this year,
justice.
especially
That would be
if they're
justice.
if they're like in contention, like hovering around 500, and he just comes out and absolutely sucks. They're going to have to turn it back over to Brissett because he got them to that point into contention. Deshaun Watson, he hasn't played in 2 years. So it's going to suck for him because if he gets benched after he comes back, you imagine how the media is going to take that. I mean, I can't imagine right now. It's going to be bad for him. And that, you don't know what that's going to do to his mentality. His mentality already has to be hurting a little bit. So it's going to be interesting for the Browns to see what they do these next coming weeks. If they lose all 3 or go 1-2, they're going to be out of it, and it doesn't matter. They're just going to play Deshaun to get him accustomed to the game again and just be ready to go next year. But they rattle off a few wins here and get back into it. I don't know. It'll be interesting. So that's all I have on that game.
Yeah.
Bengals, I think. I mean, they run through Jamar Chase and they need him back.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I need him back. Yeah. That's just, that's a really worrisome game for the Bengals. I'll say that. I mean, they were truly the bungles against the Browns. And I know it was one thing you could look to if you're a Bungles fan is you could just say it was Halloween. It was weird. The jerseys, they were weird. It was too spooky. You can turn to that for just this week because they literally, they just dominated the Falcons and they played pretty good against the Saints not that long ago, so they've been doing fine. But that was really bad. I'll say that. And you're right. They need Jamar Chase and they need to have a somewhat competent offense. I mean, if they score 14 points in that game, I think it's a different game. Because their defense sometimes I feel like also kind of feeds off their offense. So, what I'm trying to say here is, if it's 14, they score 14 points, maybe they don't allow 25 points to the Browns. Maybe the defense has a little bit more hope and motivation to go out there and get some more stops, and honestly, their defense didn't play that abysmal. It was just the offense was horrific. So, that's all I really got on that one either. AFC North is kind of a shit show right now, to be honest with you.
Weird.
It is very weird.
I guess before we move on to the trade deadline and the picks for next week, we have to talk about the other
Game of the
primetime game that
week.
happened. No, not game of the week. Not in my eyes, anyway. Bills and Packers. Oh man, the Packers are dead, man. This 4 straight losses. I mean, before this year, LaFleur had never lost 2 games in a row. He's been coaching for this is his 4th year. So he had 3 years, never lost 2 consecutive games, and now we've lost 4 in a row. So just think about that. I mean, this team's falling apart. They have no receivers. The trade deadline was this week, and guess who we got? No one. We didn't get a single person. We didn't get any draft picks. We didn't trade anyone away. We're just staying put, and it scares me. And I know a few years ago I started that we're going to tank for Bryce Young. That might be the best situation for our team right now. We're not going to get a top 3 pick in the draft, but if we can fall like within the top 8, and this is what I'm rooting for now. We currently are sitting at 13 in the draft order and tied for 10th, I guess, realistically with the Broncos because we have the same record. If we can drop down a little bit more into top 8, we can package that with Jordan Love and move up and get a top 3 pick and potentially take Bryce Young. And God, Bryce Young and Pack. This is what it's come to. All right, I'm this down bad. We're 3-5. We're literally going to play the Lions this next week, and we are dead. We are deader than Dan Campbell's kneecaps. That's how dead we are. The defense is starting to come out and say they don't trust Joe Barry, which is our defensive coordinator. They're like, we don't trust what he's doing. We don't trust his schemes, the plays he's calling. That's a huge red flag. That's a huge issue. The Packers offense isn't working. Matt LaFleur is partly to blame. Partly it's the front office that they didn't acquire any receivers. Not only that, but they traded away the best one in the league for, I guess, a decent package, but not. We could have gotten a lot more for him. And it was all on the basis of the fact that we couldn't pay him. At least that's what we thought. But now it comes out that we actually offered him more money than what he got from the Raiders, and he really wanted to go to the Raiders for some reason. I mean, that seems pretty insane to me, but I mean,
Slots.
whatever floats his boat, not only going from, a great football city in Green Bay and a great quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, and then going to Vegas where it's hot and you have Derek Carr as your quarterback. So, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me, but Aaron Jones looked really good. He is the heartbeat right now of the team. He's the only one that really showed out, I really thought, in this game. Aaron Rodgers had a nice drive at the end of the game, but it really didn't matter. Lazard was out. Christian Watson is out. Randall Cobb is out. And so who's Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to? I mean, literally DoorDash drivers. That's who we're talking about right now. You make the joke, this guy drives DoorDash, he works at a fast food restaurant. This is literally, I'd rather have one of those guys right now than the receivers we have. So, and this is what the Packers get for not investing in that position for 10 years. I mean, pretty much the entirety of Rodgers' career, we have not invested in the wide receiver position at all. Not one time. We haven't signed anybody. We haven't traded for anybody. We haven't drafted anybody. You can make the argument Devontae Adams worked. Devontae Adams was a 4th-round pick. All right? And we developed him. He turned out nice. We kind of got lucky, I'll be honest. We didn't put anything in. We didn't put any capital into Devontae Adams. He just kind of turned out and was nice. We haven't invested in this position. Aaron Rodgers, when he came up, he had Jordy Nelson, he had Greg Jennings, he had James Jones, some really good receivers. Randall Cobb was there too back in his prime. And ever since that, we literally nothing. And this is what we get, a terrible offense, and it's all because we don't have receivers. So, I mean, what can you do? You invest in the defense all you want. Half the picks turn out, half of them don't. You make some free agent signings. Zadarius Smith is actually being paid $11 million by the Packers this year to be leading the league in sacks on the Vikings, who are in first place in the NFC North right now. So another front office masterclass from the Packers. Aaron Rodgers has came out, and for weeks he's been saying expect something to happen at the trade deadline on the Pat McAfee show anyway. And this week he went on like right at the end and he goes, I was hoping that we would be able to break some news here while I was on the show. And that didn't happen. So I'm interested to see how he takes that, them not going out and getting anybody, even though Brandon Cooks, he even came out and Brandon Cooks was like, he was frustrated that he wasn't traded. That seems like we could have given up a second-round pick. That's all the Texans were asking, like a second and a fifth for Brandon Cooks, who's under contract next year too. That would have been a great trade, but no, we refused to do it. So at this point, we might as well just lose every game the rest of the year and prepare for next year. And probably prepare for the future, because I don't know how much longer Rodgers has left in him. I know he's a back-to-back MVP, but I mean, come on, he's aging. Bryce Young is there. I want Bryce Young. You know what? I'm pre-ordering my Bryce Young Packers jersey right now. That's how confident I am. It is the Bills, but it's a dumpster fire.
One thing a couple things, actually, not just one. One thing I'll say is one thing I give credit actually to for the Packers of the past, and it hasn't really been this way as of late. Much like the Steelers, actually, they had a solid run of developing wide receivers, and I know some of these are actually, and you mentioned this on this show. You've been an NFL fan for a while, but not forever. But even just a little bit before your time, I mean, Donald Driver, Donald Driver, one of my favorites growing up, Greg Jennings. And then, of course, you mentioned Randall Cobb. Yeah, Sterling Sharp. And then Jordy Nelson is often forgotten.
I said Aaron Rodgers had those guys.
Devontae Adams. I mean, so I know those, they're kind of spaced out a little bit, but those are some pretty actually impressive wide receivers. But the difference or the thing with all of those is that they're all drafted and developed. And like you said, none of them were like signed in free agency. None of them were traded for. So yeah, I mean, you got to just hope as a fan, but I can understand why you've lost hope, because they didn't take a wide receiver for a very, very long time. And like you said, you guys got lucky with Devontae Adams, but that's also credit to your organization for being able to develop him. But yeah, you guys didn't draft wide receivers in the first round when you had the chance. So yeah. And I think I already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that you said, I said in the last 10 years not investing in the position. So all those guys that you listed, they were there 10 years ago. Like that happened before this 10-year mark that I was talking about. So it's really the last decade, like where we consistently lose in the NFC Championship and the NFC playoffs, and that decade is what I'm talking about.
They may have lost. Hear me out on this. This just popped into my mind. They may have lost their luster with finding wide receivers to draft, because they're like, oh man, we've got the best of the best right now. We have Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb. A couple years later, they draft Devontae Adams, who develops into a stud after a couple years. They probably forgot how to draft good wide receivers because they didn't have to do it for such a while, because those guys turned out good. So they're just like, we can focus on other things right now. And then boom, they forgot how to scout wide receivers.
Or maybe because the guy who scouted all those wide receivers died. He passed away, literally. Which, I mean, rest in peace to him. But I miss him. He was good. He was a good GM. And now we have a moron.
Goop.
So, yeah. I don't even. What has he done good in his career, really? Why is he the Packers GM? Why is he still?
I don't know.
I hope we lose every game and then they fire him.
I don't think you're going to lose it. See, this is just Jordan it. You guys, Packers fans, the Packers fans that I know have thrown in the towel, which I don't think is fair to throw in the towel on Aaron Rodgers. I just don't think it. And same with Tom Brady. In fact, I've never been a Tom Brady fan, but I'm actually kind of hoping for one last run around the sun with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, one last good season here in the second half of the NFL season. I think that would be fun and good for the game. Like, it's kind of like Peyton Manning's last good season, just a good second half from both of them would be nice. But one thing that's crazy to me is Aaron Jones is your best football player. Aaron Jones is your best football player. Even over guys like Kenny Clark. Darnell Savage has really regressed. You could say maybe Jair Alexander is also probably your best football player. I would say Aaron Jones and
he's the best
Jair
defensive
Alexander are your
offense.
best two football players. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Jair is your best defensive player, but Aaron Jones is your best offensive player right now, over Aaron Rodgers even, over Bakhtiari even. So
Bakhtiari's been bad.
It's a weird time.
Not bad.
So, yeah, he's regressed, which is understandable when you watch the NFL over the years. You know, guys who go through a couple years of injuries, they're going to regress. That's just what happens. But, yeah, Aaron Jones is your best football player. So that's not the best building block.
No, I mean, it's definitely not. We really need to have a good draft this year. And like I said, and you said that I'm throwing in the towel. I know in the back of my mind that the Packers can come back and they can finish this season 11-6 and sneak in as a 6 or 7 seed in the playoffs and probably go on a run. But I don't want them to do that. That's the thing. Like I'm throwing in the towel because that's what I want them to do, because I know it's the best thing for the organization. What happens if we get a 6 seed and then, we have to play maybe the regressing, maybe like the Bucks in the first round. And then we lose to the Bucks in the first round and boom, it was all for nothing. Now we get a terrible draft pick. Our salary cap is way over, and we have a low draft pick. There's just no hope then. It's mediocrity. And I don't want to get stuck in mediocrity. I want to suck. Obviously the Packers haven't really been mediocre the last few years, but that is the worst thing for a sports franchise, is if you get stuck in mediocrity. And I know the Steelers were there for a long time, and this year they've regressed to the suck stage. So how do you feel getting out of mediocrity into suck? It's got to be less stressful, you think?
Oh, it's way less stressful. I make up that stress with North Carolina and Mizzou football. So I'm don't worry about me. I'm plenty stressed with football, so never have to worry about that. But yeah, the Steelers, they suck right now. And but I'll say this, Luke. You say it's less stressful, but also in the back of your mind, you're worried about the quarterback position, and I'm very worried about the quarterback position right now. We drafted Kenny Pickett. He shows some flashes, but he's thrown a lot of interceptions right now, and he doesn't have a good last name for it either. That doesn't go well right now. And we just traded away Chase Claypool, one of his targets, a bigger target. The offensive line is really bad. So, how is he supposed to get way better? Najee Harris has regressed into Trent Richardson, and it's a really, really tough scene to watch. So much so that I don't even I used to do this thing where I would have Red Zone on my computer and then the Steelers game on the TV, or vice versa. I don't even do that anymore lately. I've done it a couple times, but lately I've just been doing strictly Red Zone. Just because it's hard to watch the Steelers right now. They are that bad. Their defense is not nearly as good without TJ Watt. And yeah, mediocrity to suck. I'll say this. Mediocrity is a little bit more fun than suck. Now, it's a little more stressful, but you definitely have more fun because you still think you can make the playoffs like we did last year. Made the playoffs, and we started the game with a bang with a TJ Watt touchdown. You just never know in the NFL. That's why mediocrity is kind of dangerous for the brain. But the suck phase is not very fun, but it's less stressful. I'll say that. So I can understand maybe why not wanting to be in that middle ground for you. But another thing, it all comes back to quarterback play. And whether you're a college football team or an NFL team, if you don't have good quarterback play, you can't do anything. And so that's what I'm worried about with the Steelers. And so, yeah, that part is just never goes away. And you have a Hall of Famer as your quarterback right now, but you're also in a weird situation because he's about to retire, and we're talking about Bryce Young. And we're also talking about who the hell is Bryce. who's Bryce Young going to throw to? That's the big question for the Packers. Who's Bryce Young going to throw to? I mean,
You see.
there's nothing there right now. So yeah, that's, there's not even a whole lot to talk about with the Steelers. They're just, it's Mike Tomlin's like one of his worst season as a coach, and it doesn't happen very often, but here we are.
Yeah. Hey, at least you're going to get a good draft pick. And before we talk about some of the trades after the deadline, I will read off the current draft order. So the number one pick is the Lions, then it's the Texans, then the Panthers, then the Steelers at 4, Jaguars, Raiders, the Buccaneers currently have the 7th pick in the draft, the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers. Then the Eagles with the 8th pick from the Saints, Houston with the 9th from the Browns, Seattle with the 10th from the Broncos, and then Arizona, Chicago, Green Bay, and Detroit from the Rams. So, interesting for sure. And if the Packers lose this week to the Lions, which hopefully we do, I know that sounds bad, but we would only be a game out of the number one pick in the draft. So, how about that? And then, I guess we can talk about some of the trades here. We got to.
Yeah, the only other game I want to talk about, just one other game real quick, is the Saints just blanking the Raiders. I'm sorry that I gave the Raiders out on the pick'em. I didn't. I was hoping for that to be the upset of the week, and Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. I mean, they may as well not have stepped out on the field. I don't think they crossed the 50 until they put in the backup quarterback. Yeah. So yeah, it was very, very bad. And they didn't even play Jameis, and Jameis is healthy, but Jameis had this rap before the game that was kind of sick and got the boys going. So Saints are kind of back all of a sudden, Luke. They were gone. They're kind of back.
I will say that I agreed with you on the Raiders pick. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, I think the Raiders are going to win. If I would have seen that Jameis Winston rap, there's no way I would pick the Raiders. I would have went the Saints by 100. So,
no way. We're doing that. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, I think we just didn't. We didn't see that. So,
also one other note is after last or 2 weeks ago's picks, we were like, we can't pick against the Giants anymore if they win this game against the Jaguars, and they beat the Jaguars, so we were automatically penciled in to pick the Giants against the Seahawks, and they lost, so we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, true. But they have a bye week this week. All right, so some of the big trades. Calvin Ridley went to the Jaguars for a 4th-round pick, I do believe. And that's kind of funny because the reason he's suspended is because he bet on the Falcons to beat the Jaguars. So now he's going from the Falcons to the Jaguars. So it's kind of ironic. Bradley Chubb was traded to the Dolphins for a 1st-round pick, among other things. Cam, do you know these trades by heart, what they were traded for exactly, the exact trades?
I think Bradley Chubb, I think the Broncos got Chase Edmonds out of it. And a 1st-round pick. It was one 1st-round pick they sent to the Broncos for him.
From the 49ers 1st-round pick, I do believe, right?
Yeah. Maybe I don't know whose pick it was, to be honest with you. But
okay. And then Roquan Smith was traded from the Bears to the Ravens for a 2nd-round pick. Chase Claypool was traded from the Steelers to the Bears for a 2nd-round pick. TJ Hawkinson. This was a weird trade that didn't make sense. Was traded from the Lions to the Vikings in division. Detroit gets a 2nd and 3rd-round pick out of it, and the Vikings get Hawkinson and 2 4ths. So to me, this doesn't make sense.
That's actually a pretty good value for the Lions.
No.
2nd and a 3rd.
This is how I saw it. You're trading one of your young star players at a position that is a premium right now. There's not a lot of great tight ends out there, and Hawkinson was borderline on that level. And he's still young. and you trade him in division to a division rival, and you get 2 non-first round picks out of it, and you also are trading away two picks as well. They're not as high quality, but I mean, it's 2 draft picks for 2 draft picks, and you don't get a first out of it. So it's very confusing trade. Especially Lions fans have to be really mad at that. But I mean, I guess you got to do what you got to do. And then one other note: Nyheim Hines and Zach Moss swapped.
Yeah. The Vikings had to do it because their tight end is dead, Irv Smith. Alabama legend, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the reason why I think, Hawkinson, it's not the worst thing to lose him. For some reason, he reminds me so much of like an Austin, or is it Austin or Alex Hooper? I can't remember. I think it's Austin Hooper.
Austin,
like the former tight end from the Falcons. He had like a couple good seasons, and we thought the same thing, that he was like, this guy's borderline great, and then he just kind of fell off. So
true.
After one halfway decent season with the Browns, he's not even like on a team right now, I don't think. So, and they favored David Njoku over him. So it could backfire tremendously, and you could be 100% right. Hawkinson could like go off. He's capable. He's did it a couple of weeks ago, actually, where he just went off. But I think he's an Iowa tight end. He has a little Kittle in him, and I think that's why even people like you are like, this is bad trade. He does have a little Kittle in him, so I can see why you'd say that. But I mean, the Lions, they're 40 years into a rebuild. I have no idea what's really going on over there. I'm dead serious.
Exactly what's going on. They are cursed. It's because they won't pay Calvin Johnson. Until they pay Calvin Johnson, they will never be good. It's as simple as that. Just pay him, and I don't know why it's so hard. It's only a few $1 million. Just pay him so you can get your team out of the depths of the shitter. I mean, I
don't even think he goes back to games. He won't go back to Detroit.
Yeah.
He's so bad.
And he is the greatest player they've ever had. Literally one of the greatest receivers, if not the greatest receiver of all time. And you just won't pay him his money. And you're being petty. You're being petty to your best player in franchise history. Just think about that. And it's led you to a curse. And now you suck of it. Because of it. You're never going to be good until you pay him. So just pay him so you can be good again, and the fans will thank you. I bet you the fans will even chip in money to pay him. Honestly. If every fan in Detroit pitches in $10, they could probably pay off that contract pretty easily.
Maybe. Personally, I would say I'd say you could say Barry Sanders is probably their best player ever, but
well, yeah, he'd be the other one.
Calvin's right there. And Barry wouldn't go back to Detroit for a little bit either, but now he goes back all the time. In fact, they are building a statue of him now. I don't know if you saw that. He's the first ever Ring of Honor statue at Ford Field, which makes sense when you think about it, because they don't have any great players besides Herman Moore and Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, Calvin Johnson will probably never set back a foot in Detroit unless it's for charity or something. So, and I don't blame him, not because it's a deadly city, but like Luke just said, they won't give him his money. So he should have been a Raider. I'll just say that right now. He should have been a Raider for the last couple of years of his career. He almost came out of retirement, but the Lions still owned him, and they're like, no. So that actually makes me kind of mad about the Lions a little bit all of a sudden. Yeah. Just they robbed us of probably only 2 more years of Calvin Johnson, but they still took 2 years of Calvin Johnson away from our eyeballs. So,
oh yeah,
I don't really feel as bad for Detroit anymore.
No, I feel bad for their fans, because their fans have had to just suffer agony for their entire life, really. They've won 1 playoff game since 1957. Do you know how many people I know that were born before 1957? It's very, very few. It's like my grandparents, and then that's it, and they barely were there. So, I mean, it's wild to think about that. But yeah, I mean, sad trade for them. Some other
Yeah.
trades, I guess. You want to talk extensively about any of these? Probably the Claypool one.
Um, I think the Roquan one might be a little bit more significant than we'll lead on to. He just racks up so many tackles. And, I mean, the Ravens always have good linebackers, historically. And they just got another great one. And this could secretly help out their secondary. Now, Roquan he's not like a hybrid linebacker that will drop back, but he might, stop plays before they get going enough to where it might help the secondary out a little bit. So I think this was just a good move by the Ratbirds, and, sucks for the Steelers, but good move by the Ratbirds. Wrigley is just a funny one. It doesn't even matter at the trade deadline because he doesn't even play till next year. So that was interesting that they even did that during the middle of the season. The big one, in my opinion, is Bradley Chubb because we didn't even talk about the Lions and the Dolphins game really, but Tua is back. I mean, Tua, Luke, he is freaking so much better than I thought. I mean, he's playing like how he played like at Alabama. Like he's playing that good at that high of a level right now. And he'll still underthrow guys, but he's like just really, really accurate on shorter to medium routes. And Tyreek is just open all the time. All of a sudden,
Wild.
I mean, yeah, I think credit to pardon my take for this stat, but I think Tyreek Hill is on pace to beat the receiving record, Calvin Johnson's. So that's incredible, if you ask me. That's one of those records that will probably be broken someday. I thought Kupp was going to break it last year, but he had a couple slower games towards the end that kind of prevented him from doing it. But Tyreek Hill could do it. And he's got the quarterback to get him the ball all of a sudden, Tua loves Tyreek Hill, and I don't blame him.
Who wouldn't? He's fast, and he gets open. He does drop a lot of passes, though, but not really this year. He's looked really good.
Not Tua as still much as this year.
Yeah. Tua still has one more year left on his rookie deal, too. That's something to think about. Like, we think about Tua as kind of like a guy trying to prove it, almost like a Daniel Jones type of person, but he is way younger than Daniel Jones. Like, this is his third season. So he's got the rest of this year and next year on a rookie contract, and then they got the fifth-year option, which they would have to pay him as a top 10 quarterback, I do believe. If
Something
you accept the fifth-year option. Yeah, he gets paid significant money, but he's still under team control.
It's what Lamar's on right now, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Right?
I think yeah, he is. Because the Ravens just need to pay him. That could end up being like a Calvin Johnson thing where they refuse to pay Lamar. And then,
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. This Bradley Chubb, he's going to add a huge piece to their defense because that is where they're weak at. Their offense is it's almost perfect in all cylinders. I mean, maybe you could add a running back, but Mostert's been really good for them. That's why they traded Edmonds. I mean, their defense needed a little bit of work, and this is a huge piece. They have the draft capital to do it. And I know the stat that's been going around that from the Laramie Tunsil trade, the Dolphins were able to get Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Bradley Chubb. Yeah, all from those three picks that they got from Laramie Tunsil. So
all because he smoked a little weed in high school. It's pretty incredible. That was before his time at Ole Miss. That bong rip shot of him with the Confederate flag in the background. So,
yeah,
I mean, if
wild.
Thinking about that draft, Laramie Tunsil was slated to go at like number 3 or number 4 because he was that good out of Ole Miss. And, I mean, that completely lost him. Yeah, that completely lost him probably $5 or $10 million. But now he's making lots of money with the Texans. So it's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, Chubb, you need the big thing about Chubb and an indicator that the Dolphins are all in, and why wouldn't you be after the way Tua is playing right now? In the playoffs, when the going gets rough, when it comes late in the fourth quarter, you need a pass rusher. And Bradley Chubb, he's not all-world pass rusher, but he's a pretty good pass rusher. So, yeah, it's a big move by them. He'll be playing alongside Jalen Phillips, Miami Hurricane alumni. Yeah, I mean, not a bad pickup, and probably the most impactful. Claypool is just whatever. I mean,
yeah, that's an investment for next year, I think. Bears.
Yeah, I don't really know if Fields is going to utilize him or not. We'll see.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah,
it's a trade to keep an eye on for sure.
It is, because it's not. I mean, let's be real here. Claypool, it's not like he's all-world wide receiver either. He had a great rookie year, but I mean, he just runs straight. That's all he really does.
He's mid compared to the rest of the Steelers receivers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
It is funny that
outside of his rookie year.
Yeah, it is funny that in this draft, Chase Claypool came out and announced the Steelers' second-round pick, and it was George Pickens. So he
now George Pickens has his job.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny to point out. Before we get to our picks, let's do say hello, kiss it goodbye. I'm going to do a segment here.
All right, sounds good.
All right, I got a lot of say hellos, and this could lead into some deep discussion. So, my first say hello is a great college football weekend. We had one a few weeks ago, and do we have another good one right now? Tennessee, Georgia is set up for game of the year. I mean, somehow that might beat Tennessee, Alabama. And then later that night, you have Alabama and LSU playing, which could get ugly. I think Alabama might just roll them out of the building. But those two games, and we got the Cum Bowl this weekend too. So that's something that's big tomorrow. Game. That's Friday night. Yeah, the Cum Bowl, UMass and Connecticut, UConn. So, I mean, together it spells cum-ass. So, I mean, you can take that as you want. But they have a rivalry. They play every single year, and it's tomorrow night. So, just shout out to that.
Yep.
The reason it's cum bowl is Connecticut, the C, and then UM, like UMass. But.
Yeah. Just for those looking to do research on the Cum Bowl, don't look up the Cum Bowl. Just don't. I've tried it for statistics on the Cum Bowl. Just don't look it up in those words. Just don't. But
yeah,
I think I talked about that like months ago. But yeah, just don't do that. But that's always a funny game. Always on the Sickos game of the week when that one's on there. Yeah, North Carolina plays Virginia in the oldest rivalry of the South game. Mizzou has a big game at Kentucky.
First Kentucky, not at Kentucky.
Sorry, but yeah, first Kentucky. And I was actually going to go to that game, but I have work, so wasn't able to go. So that sucks. But and then what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, about Mizzou. One thing about Mizzou before we move on to the rest. Because we may not have any other time to talk about this. Drink wins an evaluation game down in Columbia, South Carolina. So, and Mizzou's 4-4 and playing the best football that they have all year. So yeah.
Is that his first evaluation win of the year? I think it is.
I believe so.
Because he lost.
Because we counted Vanderbilt as an automatic win.
Yeah. He lost Auburn, lost K-State, lost Florida, and so yeah, this was the next one. I think we got one more with Arkansas in a few weeks. So,
yep. No, Kentucky. Oh no, I think did we label Kentucky as an automatic loss?
We did, but I honestly think we could switch.
This is an evaluation.
Remember
game.
Tennessee? We had Tennessee being an evaluation game, and that is going to be a blowout. So,
yeah.
Maybe we just switch that. Maybe Kentucky's an evaluation game because it's at home. So.
Yeah,
who knows? And Kentucky, they have our number. Kentucky has had our number over the years. So
They have, but last time we were at home against them, we throttled them. So, and there's actually that famous Mizzou picture of that Kentucky player on the sideline pushed out of bounds, and the whole Mizzou team is standing over him. I don't know if you've seen that picture. It's a
I think I
legendary
have. I
Mizzou
think I know what
photo.
you're talking about.
Yeah, I've actually personal experience 2017, I want to say. Drew Lock was still at Mizzou, and Kentucky was ranked, I want to say, top 10 at number 8. And Mizzou didn't get like a first down the entire second half. And there was a phantom pass interference, and then they didn't call pass interference on the Kentucky tight end who pushed off, and they scored the game-winning touchdown. Final was like 17-14. It was disgusting. Mizzou home loss.
Yeah, I remember
that was brutal. But that's the epitome of Mizzou right there. But yeah, Drink wins an evaluation game. The offense was still kind of bad, but whatever. My say hello.
We just played Shatler.
Yeah, we did play Shatler, which was nice to see us beat Shatler. Say hello. Oh yeah, a new Twitter landscape with Elon Musk officially becoming the CEO of Twitter, and he's planning to reinstate old accounts and whatnot after he gets his new Twitter board together. And after they have their first meeting, it looks like they're going to be reinstating a bunch of accounts. So not yet, but once he has his board assembled, it looks like we'll see some old faces back on the timeline. So say hello to a new Twitter landscape.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for sure. It's going to be fun. I know he's charging the $8 for verification, which is interesting as well, and we'll see how that goes. But I think he gave a good reason for it. I forget what it was, but I remember when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Do you have any more? Or?
Oh, no, that was my only say hello.
Okay, well, I have a few more. So, Maction. Maction's back. That's kind of it's the MAC is the football conference. They're kind of like Ohio, Michigan, that area. In Illinois, get a few teams, and they play. It's about this time of year, November. They start playing their games on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, and it is some of the most fun football you will ever watch. Like, it's not going to be big names or stars or anything, but just the stuff that happens is so wild. That's why it's called Maction. So that was back this week. Another thing that you say hello to, politics. The midterm elections are next week, and political commercials are everywhere. So if you are 18 and older, encourage everyone to vote. Your vote matters. Even in Missouri somehow, where it doesn't matter. Eric Schmidt's going to get elected no matter what, but I mean, who knows? So just vote. Utilize that right as an American. So politics is say hello to that, and then also say hello to Matt Ryan. Player for the Lakers, was working DoorDash not that long ago. I think it was like less than 2 years ago. He was working DoorDash, and now he's for the Lakers. And last night he hit a game-tying shot to send it to OT, and the Lakers ended up winning. So say hello to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I saw a thing. It was. I think it may have been a ball sack quote, but I'll say it anyway and say that it was real. Matt Ryan said, yeah, life comes at you fast. One moment you're door dashing, the next moment you're saving LeBron's legacy. So life comes at you fast. So, yeah, thank you, Matt Ryan, for saving LeBron's legacy the other night.
Yep, definitely. So say hello to Matt Ryan. My kiss of goodbye is Matt Ryan, the football Matt Ryan. From the Indianapolis Colts, he's retired. He's done. They basically said he's not starting. He's not playing football the rest of the year, and they're going to release him, so they're not going to have to pay his contract, and he's done. So kiss Matt Ryan goodbye. So it's when one Matt Ryan falls, another one arises. So shout out to the Matt Ryans of the world.
Shout out to the Matts.
Picking each other up.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Do you have a kiss goodbye?
Yeah. One thing I didn't want to interrupt you, but speaking of Maction, fun fact, I got my haircut today, and I sat next to a future Maction player, Mark Hensley, as we were waiting to get our haircuts. He walked in at about the same time. He'll be playing for Northern Illinois next year. Start his education in football, continuous football career there. So that'll give me like even more incentive to watch Maction over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Getting to watch Mark at Northern Illinois. So yeah, but that was just interesting. Yeah, they're not very good. They had a bunch of fumbles last night that were really funny. But including, I don't know if you saw the fumble on Tuesday night. I think it was a Kent State player was running with the ball and a guy just punched it out and it went so high up into the air. The safety who caught the fumble, it was like a punt. So it was just really beautiful. And then there was a guy who got a strip sack and he got up to run with the ball and just got drilled kind of by his own teammate. So that was nice to see. Just, yeah, Maction, I'm glad it's back. And then my kiss it goodbye, sorry. Kissing the Buccaneers goodbye. I know I said earlier that never to count out Tom Brady, but they are a really bad football team right now. And I think Luke already said this, but kissing goodbye Tom Brady's marriage, a very tough scene. But the Buccaneers kind of goes. They might be bye. They might be bye. I mean, I said, never count out Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, but I actually think that the Buccaneers might be cooked right now. They just, Luke said this earlier, they have nothing clicking. Absolutely nothing. So I hate to do a double take. And if I had to pick a true side here, I'm going to say that the Buccaneers don't make the playoffs. So
I hope so.
I think I'll stick to that. But
funnier for the league.
It would be funnier. It would be.
I'm not
going to say it would be sad because I'm still here.
Okay, you just lagged for like 10 seconds. I didn't hear anything you said.
Oh, sorry.
It was probably really good.
Well,
no, you're good. Not your fault.
I think all I said was it will be sad way to watch Tom Brady go out, which is crazy to think about because like he's had everything. He's had it all. So, but yeah, the Buccaneers might be bye-bye. But they could sneak in, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And then do you have any more kiss goodbyes or is that it?
One, I didn't write this one down, but I shaved my mustache. So.
Oh, okay.
I gave up on it after like.
Was it good?
It was like 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks. And I don't know, I just didn't really like it that much anymore. So I might try it again some other time, but I don't know. I didn't like it that much. So back to clean shaven.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I know how you feel with that. And then my final kiss it goodbye is Kyrie Irving. So right before we started recording the show, it was announced that he was suspended at least 5 games by the Brooklyn Nets, not by the NBA, for his comments. Not comments, but what was it that he like retweeted an article that was basically like calling out Jewish people?
I think it was he like posted. He said he wasn't endorsing, but I don't know if you saw his interview. It was so bad. Yeah, but he was pretty much just saying, no, I wasn't endorsing the video that had anti-Semitism in it, the movie that had anti-Semitism in it. I was just posting it on my page where other people can see it from looking at my page. So, but he wasn't endorsing it, Luke. He wasn't endorsing it. I know. He was just posting it on his page for other people to see. No, he's not sorry for it. And let's talk about basketball and not, you're a basketball reporter. Ask basketball questions. Let's not talk about me maybe hating Jews.
Yeah, exactly. So kiss that goodbye. And Yeah, for sure. It's been a tough scene for that front recently. And I guess before you want to do our picks really briefly, we're running out of time here, but we can do a quick run through of the games for next week. I do believe it's my week to pick, so I'll just kind of run through
Yep.
and
10 and
see if there's
5 last
anything.
week, not
This
bad.
game, yeah, I think we only have 13 games this week, if I recall. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 13
I have
games
no
because
idea.
6 teams are on a bye. So this
Wow.
game, Eagles Texans, obviously the Eagles. I think it's close at the moment, but
It is
obviously, I mean,
21-17
Texans
entering
are
the
1 and
fourth.
5. Texans are 1 and 5. Eagles are undefeated, so that's an obvious pick. Colts, Patriots. The Colts are dead, so I'll go with the Patriots.
Are
Wentz
they
there.
dead? Completely?
Well, here's the thing. Do you want me to go into detail about Bill Belichick against rookie quarterbacks? Much less them making their second career start.
No, you
First
don't
start
have
on the
to.
road?
You don't have to.
Okay. Well, Patriots win that. Packers at the Lions. God. I don't want to do this, but I'll have to pick the Packers just because the Lions are so bad. The Lions are bad. So it's Packers. Bills and Jets.
That was kind of another weird surprise. I thought the Lions might be mediocre this year, and they're just bad.
Yeah, true. I did too. Bills and Jets. This is the Bills. The Jets are coming off a heartbreaking loss, and the Bills are just good. So Vikings, Commanders. I'm going to pick the Commanders.
Whoa!
I think this might be the week. Yeah, upset of the week
Kirk
here.
Cousins
veto if you
return?
want, but
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
the true
Kirk Cousins return. And it's 1 p.m.
Oh, I don't care. It's the Vikings are due for a loss. They're due for a loss, and the Commanders are kind of hot right now, and they got a little bit of adrenaline going right now with Dan Snyder announcing he's going to sell the team. So that's why I picked the Commanders. Veto if you want, but that's my pick. Keep in mind you have 2 of them. And there's only 13 games, so if you want to use them, don't be afraid.
I'll circle back. Maybe.
All right. Chargers at the Falcons. This is an interesting one. This is a very tough game to pick. But since it's at Atlanta, you know what? The Chargers are coming off a bye week. I'm going Chargers. This is one of those games where it's just like the Falcons, you know, when you talk about, oh, they Falconsed it. You know, they blew a huge lead. Or, oh, they Chargered it. You know, they just had a wild game, and they just somehow, some way made a stupid play at the end of the game, and they choked it. These are 2 of, like, the weirdest franchises. Like, yeah, they have some bad luck. So this game could get really crazy. And in a really crazy game, I trust the Chargers slightly more than the Falcons. So even though the Falcons had won their crazy game last week, but
that one actually might be more vetoable for me. It's current line.
Go ahead and veto. I will not.
Chargers -3. Chargers 4-3. Oh man.
Keep in mind this is the first place team. Veto if you want. I will not re-veto that if you decide to go with the Falcons.
Does look like Eckler's going to play. The Chargers are so confusing. I think this game will give us a lot of info about the Chargers. If that makes sense. We're going to know a lot more about this Chargers team after this game. I think I'd rather veto your Vikings pick. I'm kind of skulling right now.
All right. So which are you vetoing both, or are you circling back?
I think I'm going to just veto your Vikings one right now.
Okay. So Vikings it is. I'm not gonna re-veto that, but I do think the Commanders could upset. Next one, Panthers at Bengals. This is Cincinnati. Philip Walker, PJ Walker's he's looked good, but this is Bengals for sure. Raiders and Jaguars. Ooh.
-1.5
Wow.
Las
Okay.
Vegas.
Oh, really?
2-5 and
Well, in
2-6.
that case, I'm going Jacksonville. They're at home.
That's the only thing, yeah. The only thing that maybe the Raiders have, the only thing the Raiders might have going for them, but it could very easily mean the opposite, is that they're coming off like their worst offensive performance like ever lately.
So
and they might be able to turn it around. But yeah, I think
here's the reason I picked the Jaguars is because last week it was like two very even teams with the Raiders and the Saints, and I picked the Raiders to win, but the Saints were at home, and so I'm just going to use reverse logic this week and pick the Jaguars because they're at home. Dolphins at Bears. This is Dolphins. The Bears have looked better on offense, but this is Dolphins. Seahawks, Cardinals. Cardinals are at home.
-2.
I don't want to
Cardinals.
pick the Seahawks because I feel like I don't want to jinx the Seahawks. I'm rooting for them hard. -2 who?
-2 Cardinals.
Oh, in that case, I'm going Seahawks.
Let's see here.
And
I want the Seahawks to win. Cardinals are kind of bad. I mean, their wins, their wins, Luke, are against the Raiders, the Panthers, and they have one more. Oh, the Bengals, but that was a weird game. Oh, wait, no, that was preseason. Game. What the hell am I talking about? That's preseason.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second, when did they play the Bengals?
Who was their third win?
The Saints on Thursday Night Football.
You're right. Yep.
Saints. Where they pick-sixed Andy Dalton twice.
Yeah. In 4 plays. 4 passes. Sorry.
And in one of their wins, the Raiders was in overtime. So they've looked really bad this year. So for that reason, I'll go with the Seahawks.
Let's go Hawks, baby.
Yeah. Let's go Hawks. Rams Buccaneers. This is a loser leaves town game. This is the game of the week on Fox, I would imagine. Loser leaves town. Rams Buccaneers. I will go with Buccaneers because they're at home, and 2, I think they're a little bit better than the Rams. The Rams offensive line looks really bad. Cooper Kupp got hurt at the end of the game. I don't know how serious that is. And then their defense has looked really bad too. So I'll go with the Buccaneers.
Jalen Hurts is a stud, man. 29-17 right now. They just ran a 2-point conversion in with the QB sneak. So that was pretty hot. That game is actually on CBS for you, Luke. Your game of the week. The loser leaves town game.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, and then we got Sunday Night Football. Titans, Chiefs. This is Chiefs. Chiefs are better. They're at home. Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes, primetime Chiefs.
Guess this line, Luke.
On the Chiefs?
Yeah.
8.5.
No.
Is it actually?
No.
Oh. What's the line?
Give it just a couple more guesses.
Am I 9.5?
No.
Wrong way?
No, you're going the right way.
Wow. 11?
I know.
13.
12.5 is the line.
Jesus.
That is crazy. They're both 5-2. And the Titans have won 5 in a row.
Titans have Malik Willis, though. He's a young quarterback. And the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. No, I don't agree. I Sorry, that was the wrong thing. But I think the Chiefs are going to win, but that's just like a crazy line to see. 12.5 when both teams are 5-2. So yeah, and then Ravens Saints.
Ravens Saints. This is Ravens. The Ratbirds.
All right.
So that's it. That's our picks. What did we what did we decide on the Falcons and Chargers? Are you going to veto that Chargers pick?
I do, but I also feel like it could backfire.
Okay, well, if you really feel that way, then just...
I say we just leave it. But, like I said, this is a big knowledge game for the Chargers. We're going to gain a lot of knowledge.
Uh-huh. All right. And that is... unless you want to do a quick simulator here at the end, we can talk briefly about the World Series. We'll talk more about it next episode when it's actually over. But right now, Phillies Astros tied 2-2. They're playing Game 5, like literally as we speak right now, and they're down. The Phillies are down 2-1. In this game, Justin Verlander's out of the game, but we'll know more about that. I think if the Phillies lose this game, the series is over because Houston will win. But interesting stat: no team has won a World Series at home since the 2013 Red Sox did it. So this game is guaranteed to be ended in Houston. So take that as you will. And Cam, you want to get the playoffs ready?
That's a fun stat, Luke. Thank you. I appreciate that stat.
That's my stat too. I didn't get that from anywhere. I found that out myself. So credit me.
Wow, nice
for that.
Okay. Okay. NFL standings.
Yep.
Okay.
You want to start off AFC again?
Oh my gosh, why is it like this? I just need the top 7.
Is it like giving you the divisions and stuff?
Yeah. I can't remember how I did it last time.
Just go on your CBS Sports app or something on your phone.
Oh, wait, I think I may have found it because it's purple, which means I clicked on it before. Okay, yeah, I found it. Oh, wait. Here we go. Conference. There we go. We're good.
All right.
Do you need me to start rattling them off?
Yep.
The 2 and 7
in the AFC.
2, who is also 12.5 point underdogs. Number 2 Chiefs, right now is the Titans. Versus...
Wow. Well, the Titans are the 2.
Yeah, I know. And they're 12-point underdogs. 12.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Chargers are your 7th seed.
Titans, Chargers. In this game, what the hell just happened? Oh, I think it might have just crashed. Damn it. I apologize. No one's even listening at this point in the show anyway, so. Titans win 21-3. Not even close. So you remember last time when we did this and the Chargers went on like a little bit of a mini run and beat the Bills and stuff? Not this time.
Yeah.
Titans it is. All right, give me the 3 and 6. Chiefs, it's got to be, right?
Chiefs, Dolphins.
Ooh, that's a fun matchup.
Yeah.
I would actually be...
That would be a really nice... A nice super wild card weekend. It's January. You're drinking some Dr. Pepper. You're just watching that game. No school the next day. That's a good game.
Yeah. And who do you think wins? None other than the reigning Show Me Show Simulator champions, Kansas City Chiefs, 24-16.
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Ratbirds and Jets.
Ooh, that's kind of a That's like got 2010 vibes on it for sure. I don't know if that makes sense, but come on, this is taking forever to load every game. I swear. I just want to know who wins, man. Ratbirds win 34-14. All right, so what does that leave us? All four.
That's pretty likely.
The 4 division winners won. Yeah. All of the home teams won. So that brings us to Bills Ravens, right?
Are they the
1 and 4 seed?
Yep, 1 and 4.
Okay, and then on the other side, it's going to give us Chiefs and Titans. So a little bit of a
rematch of the 12.5 point. Yeah.
So the Titans are the home team, though, right? They're the 2
Yeah,
seed.
theoretically.
So the Bills Ravens, Bills win 31-26. So a very close game, but once again, the home team continues to win. It's gonna be interesting for this the Titans Chiefs game to see who wins this one. The Chiefs blow out the Titans 41-21. That is exactly why they're 12-point favorites. So in the AFC Championship, you have obviously a very likely matchup: Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. This is the game that everyone wants to watch. And wow, we have an upset. Not really an upset, but Bills win 31-17. So Bills are in the Super Bowl. How about that? All right, let's do the NFC. See who's going to be facing off against the Bills in the Super Bowl. Give me the 2 and the 7.
Vikings. 3, 4. What? That can't be right. Hold on. Stop. I hate how you can't scroll effectively on a Chromebook. Okay,
You're on a Chromebook?
This is controversial. This is messed up. I'm looking at it right now because it has the Eagles at 1, Minnesota at 2, Dallas at 3, and Giants at 4. So it should be Seahawks at 4.
Okay, so it's just going by records.
Yeah. So your 2 seed is Vikings.
Actually,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Versus the 49ers. Vikings, right. 49ers.
Vikings, 49ers. So the 49ers are going to Minnesota in this one. It's a weird one for sure. All right, go ahead and get me the 3 and 6 while we're waiting for this one to load.
Dallas and the
Dallas
Atlanta.
Is not the 3. Philadelphia is the 1.
I'm sorry, this is all messed up. They just, you know what? I kind of give props to this ESPN standings. It just has the NFC Beast at the top here, so I respect that. But Philadelphia's 1, Minnesota's 2. Skip a few. Seattle's
Minnesota
the 3
beats
seed.
the
Seattle's your 3 seed.
Okay. How about that? Minnesota beats the 49ers 21-20. So there's that for you. And then you said the Seahawks and who? Who's the 6? Would it be the Giants?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not really sure, Luke. I'm not going to lie. The 3 teams in the top 4 from the NFC Beast is throwing me off.
Okay, I'm looking it up on my app right now. It is the Giants.
Okay.
Giants are the 6th seed. They're 6-2 because the Cowboys had the tiebreaker. And whoa! The Giants upset the Seahawks 24-13.
Almost just a flipped score from this past week.
Yeah, pretty much, almost exactly. And so then at 4 seed, it's the Atlanta Falcons facing the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it should be.
This could get ugly. This could get really, really ugly. The Cowboys might win in a blowout in this one. So far, that was the first upset. All the other home teams have won every time. Wow. Holy. 7-6 Falcons win.
I think that'd be scoregami.
That's realistic.
Or
7-6?
actually, I think
Really?
no, never mind. I think it's 8-7.
Eight to
Sorry,
six is
false
scoregami.
alarm.
Okay.
8-7 is a
Okay.
scoregami. I don't know about
8 to 7.
8-6.
Okay. So 7, that's a very real, that's like the only way the Falcons would be able to beat the Cowboys in a 7-6 win.
They are a weird
So
team.
I guess that, yeah, they are 7-6. That just kind of weird to look at. Like for a playoff game, you think of like in the 20s or 30s, and then you just see 7-6, two single scores. So I guess that leaves the 1 seed, the Eagles, facing off against the Giants. The
If they're the yeah, 'cause the 49ers lost to the Vikings, right?
Yeah. Okay, so Eagles win this 34-20.
Okay.
Win it pretty handily, obviously. So then we got the Vikings facing off against the Falcons.
Yeah.
That's a weird one to look at. Vikings Falcons. Were we in like 2016?
Yeah. Pretty
Who's
much.
going to be taking on the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl? Who is it? Come on, website. This website's been really, really slow today for some reason.
Falcons.
44-21. 44-21.
Wow.
So the Falcons go from scoring 7 points to 44. And they're going to be taking on the Eagles.
Wow.
How about that? Falcons. Can you imagine that Falcons in the NFC Championship against the Eagles?
That's
awful.
Bird Bowl. A nice little Bird Bowl.
Bird Bowl, yeah, to go to the Super Bowl. And, oh my God, the Falcons, 26-21. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
They're hot.
Oh my God. No.
Oh, and now somebody has to win the Super Bowl for the first time.
Oh, true. That's a good point. Wow, 26-21. They eke it out over the Eagles. And now they're just going to get lathered up and bent over by the Bills. I don't know. You would think that that's what the Eagles would do to the Falcons. Who's going to win? The second edition of the Show Me Show Super Bowl goes to the Falcons, 26-27. No way. This is unbelievable. The Falcons win. Cam, I'm sending you a picture of this just in case you don't believe me. This is real. Look at that. The Falcons 27-26. They eke it out. Unbelievable.
That says 21.
Now, as I did that's over the Eagles, I think. The 26-21.
Oh, where's the
So
okay.
As I
said,
said,
click ahead. Okay.
Yeah. So last week when we did this, I gave off the advanced stats. So this website simulated the Bills and Falcons 395 times, and the Bills won 85% of the time. 339 out of the 395. And they won by more than 20 points 40% of the time. But guess what? It doesn't matter because the Falcons win this game. 27
Good for the ATL.
How about that, man? I think that would break the curse. The 28-3 curse. I think that would break it if the Falcons were able to do this.
In honor of Matt Ryan. That's a good way for Matt Ryan to retire. They should sign Matt Ryan.
Another interesting stat about Matt Ryan is I saw that his tenure with the Colts lasted 28 weeks and 3 days. From the moment he was traded to the moment he was benched. So he just can't get away from that number.
That's messed up by the Colts. That's messed up.
They couldn't have waited one more day, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's messed up.
It's wild. I actually don't know if that's true. I just saw multiple people confirm.
Yeah, I just saw a bunch of people say that, so we'll take it as real.
Wow. So the Falcons beat the Cowboys. They beat the Vikings, the Eagles, and the Bills to a Super Bowl in this simulation. So that's a very real thing. This simulation is based off math and it's based off calculations and analytics. So the fact that it has the Falcons winning is a very real possibility. So just watch out. Marcus Mariota, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Very real possibility.
What
and
is
with
that?
that's going to wrap up.
What even happens if Marcus Mariota wins the Super Bowl? Do they have to sign him?
I have no idea, Cam. I don't think we have to worry about it, but
No, you're right.
we will put that out this week. So, Chiefs beat the Eagles in the first edition, and this one, the Falcons beat the Bills. So, anything can happen in the NFL. And with that, that's going to wrap up episode 36, a long one at that one, but a very action-packed episode at that. So, I guess we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a great football weekend.
Exactly. See you then.